everyone, my name's Florence and welcome back to my channel. I know I haven't uploaded in ages, so today I'm going to treat you all with a spring houseplant tour. I'll go through basically just my living room because I don't think there's much point in doing anything in the bedroom, bathroom or kitchen because nothing's really changed in there. And if I'm being completely honest, a lot of those plants have gone to my mum's. The lounge, I don't personally think has changed that much, but you guys might see a lot of difference, a lot of new growth. There's a couple of plants in particular which have like doubled in size. I've got some new stuff, but I didn't really go that mental over the pandemic and lockdown because plant prices were just absolutely insane. And because the UK is now opening up again, you potentially might hear some traffic in the background. It's not going to be as quiet as my other videos potentially, and we live on a main road, so if you hear truck noises, that is it. But yeah, I did my nails because I don't want to go to salons yet. Even though they're open, I'm just not feeling confident enough yet. Also really need a haircut, but anyway, let's crack on. Oh, and also just quickly, I got my windows washed this morning and honestly it is so much brighter in here, and I feel sorry for all of my plants because I also haven't dusted a hell of a lot of them in a long time, so that's going to be a plant chore for this week. But yeah, now it feels like we're looking outside and it's like HD because the windows were so dirty before. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this, and if you've got any questions I will put all the plant names on screen. If there's any that you want particular care videos for, or you know, questions about where I got them, anything like that, just ask below in the comments. And yeah, let's get stuck into it. Okay, so I'll just show you this corner quickly and then I'm gonna switch back to normal view. This is wide angle, but this is kind of where we're looking at. Okay, so first we have my golden pothos, which trails all the way up and around. I have lost a hell of a lot of leaves on this, and I think it is just age. I've got a new vine climbing up, so I'm quite happy about that. But yeah, the pot is, I think most of the reason that I've lost a lot of leaves is because all of the perlite is kind of risen to the top of the soil again, which happens when you water quite heavily. But yeah, there's some really stunning leaves coming through, and there is plenty of new growth, so I'm not too worried about it. I might give it a chop and prop when we move eventually, but for now I'm just going to keep looping it round. And yeah, next we have my variegated Monstera borsigiana, which has not done a whole lot, to be honest. So the browning on the leaves hasn't changed whatsoever, so you can see that it's still contained. We're roughly about 70% humidity in this room. There is another leaf behind here which has popped out since you guys last saw it, but other than that it's really not done anything. I've got it creeping up this bit of twisted willow, which I made sure was thoroughly dry and dead before I put it in there. And yeah, I really don't water this guy much. I don't have any problems with it whatsoever. It's really beautiful, but I'm falling a bit out of love with it. I'm thinking of doing potentially a chop and sell. And then, I'm not sure if you guys remember, in my Cindo plant haul, I got a gloriosum, which looked really unhappy. So I've transferred that into pot. It's since lost a leaf, but there is a new growth point, so I'm really excited, and that is just sat in water, so the pond kind of sucks it up. I'm still very new to pond, but if you have any questions I'd be happy to put you in the right direction if I don't know the answers. And then we have my philodendron micans, which has grown like mad. There are vines all over the place which normally go up here, but I actually watered that plant the other day. That is in soil, and again it's with the end bit of twisted willow from the branch behind, which I chopped off, and it just grows happily in there. I have that one in soil, and it's just a very happy little plant. It's probably quadrupled in size in the last year because I kept taking props off it, so yeah. And then we have my Hoya kerrii tucked behind here, which is absolutely amazing. It flowered for me quite a lot last year, so you can see the flower buds here. And And then there's a new flower bud up here, and you can see how dusty it is as well. But look at that vine. I don't know where it thinks it's going. And it is also extremely long. It's probably about 3 foot, to give you a bit of context. And the plan was to wrap that around as well, but the problem is that if you bend them too far, they just snap and ooze that kind of white sap. So I was hoping that potentially it might get a couple of leaves, which it hasn't yet. There are tiny little kind of specks of leaves happening, but once that's got a leaf or two, I'm gonna chop the whole vine off and plant it back in the pot on the other side, because as you can see, it is quite heavy on one side and I'd like to put some here. So there's that one. Desperately needs a dust and probably needs water. And then next up, we've got my Raphidophora Pertusa, which has grown like mad. So there's 2 vines in here, actually, I should specify. So this was the original cutting that I got for an insane amount of money off Facebook Marketplace, and it grew and grew, and then it got too close to the self-watering moss pole and decided that it was going to rot out. So what I did was I put a bit of leca behind just to force it out a bit, and it just kept on putting out new nodes. And then eventually what happened was it pushed out this leaf, which I thought was going to be tiny, and I'm not sure if you can actually see the difference in size between these leaves, but it's absolutely brilliant. And then it's just kept on pushing out new leaves. So this one unfurled last week. It's actually a really weird Raphidophora, because instead of pushing out a leaf and then kind of growing a little bit, these leaves come out and they're about that big, and then they just grow and grow and grow, and it's a bit more anthurium-like in that one. And then there's this one, which is looking pretty sad in the same pot as well, but it has a new growth point, and I'm pretty sure all of the energy is going into that. This was actually in water for about 6 months, so I think it had a pretty hard time converting over to soil. But again, I'm going to chop and prop that. Really, really easy to propagate. They just, you set them in water, and within a couple of weeks they've rooted up. And you can see that I've struggled with fungus gnats as well, because I've got the little sticky pads, which actually do catch a hell of a lot, but they weren't from this plant, which is where I thought they were coming from, because I was keeping it more damp to try and keep that transition a bit smoother for that plant. But here you go, you can kind of see just how massive that is. And then down here we have my Hoya Finlaysonii, I think. It's again done nothing for about a year, and then the last 2 weeks it's woken up, and I was spiraling it around this, but then it just grew so many vines so quickly that I haven't really had time. So they start out about this size when they when they poke out, you kind of notice them around there, and then they just get absolutely massive leaves, which are really beautiful. That one was damaged when I got the first cutting of this, but since then it's not spread, and it is just absolutely amazing. Love this Hoya, absolutely love it. And you can see, I'm hoping, the kind of glimmer and veining on the leaves, because there is nothing quite like it that I've seen. They look like crocodiles. And then moving on to the next one, we've just got a standard little Mikado, I think they're called, my little cool dog planter. And then back here we've got my Raphidophora foraminifera, which actually transitioned really well. It lost 3 leaves, but each time it lost a leaf, it pushed out a new one. I think after this last one has kind of gone, it's on its way out already, I think that will kind of flourish. And yeah, it's an absolutely massive pot for the size, but I wanted it on a self-watering moss pole, and it's actually transitioned really well. So yeah. And then here we have my little velvet Cordex, which I absolutely love, which woke up after only going dormant for about 2 weeks. You can kind of see just how beautiful this is. It's almost like cat ears or cat fur. The actual Cordex itself is disgusting and looks like a butthole, which I've said before. But yeah, I'm really hoping to see more of these on the market, because they are such easy plants. You water them when they get dry and leave them when they're dormant, and yeah, you can see all the little kind of furry babies in there. but this one decided to pick up, and I do have to rotate it every day. You can see that's just from the last hour being faced towards the window, which is over there. And yeah, it's just a really happy little plant. And then we have my Philodendron verrucosum, which is actually doing remarkably well. So I won the battle with spider mites, and they were gone for about 4 months. And then they came back about 2 weeks ago. I went to visit my parents and missed a watering day, and all of the spider mites came back, which was really, really frustrating. But I did do the treatment every time I watered it, so it was absolutely certain that they were gone. And I literally missed the watering schedule by about 2 days, and it was all floppy and looked really sad. But there is new growth all over this plant. So I think I've got about 7 different stems in there. So that is really exciting, and yeah, it's on the mend now, which is great. And then moving up, we have these sad sorry sites. So I had my caladiums in here last year, which looked incredible. I'll include a photo if you didn't see them. And then as soon as caladiums finished, I was kind of stuck. I wasn't sure really what to put in them, so I just put a load of golden pothos cuttings, and because it's so dusty living on a high street, they get really, really dusty and then just kind of like die out. So they are all just sat in water, all of the golden pothos. And then we have a jewel orchid, Ludicea discolor, I think, which is doing well, but it doesn't get watered as often. Being up here, it gets watered about once a week, which for here isn't the best. And then we have my red ivy, which is looking really good, but it just keeps pushing out new growth and then losing the bottom leaves. So I might do a chop and prop of that. But yeah, like I said in my previous video, if I can reach, the undersides of this are absolutely beautiful. And the top side's kind of like shines silver in the sunlight. And then, sorry, I'm getting caught, my wire is getting caught up in all of these plants. So up here is a variegated Pelia baby from my mum's plant, which is growing quite well. And I'll give you a close up on that now, just so you can see how variegated the leaves are. I'm pretty sure that it's stable variegation, so it won't ever go away. And then here we have a Monstera Peru, which is going to go in the bin after this. I just need to find a new plant for this pot. I don't know what it is about these. There's a certain amount of these going around in the UK, which were just potted up, you know, unpropagated stems, like unrooted stems, which were just shoved in soil or coco coir, and it kind of survived for about a year, didn't put out any new growth. I moved it to better light and started watering it more regularly, and it just didn't root. I've actually had a look and there's 0 roots on the stem, so I think it was just surviving. So that is this corner. As you can see, it looks quite bare, I think. There's a lot of white wall here, but my oxalis, which was here last year, is at my mum's house because it is just too big. And yeah, like I said, I've given my mum a lot of the plants that I don't have room for. She's absolutely incredible with the oxalis, so I have no worries whatsoever. Okay, so down here we have a really, really cool Sansellaria, which I've completely forgotten the name of, but it's got ripply sides, really flat paddle-shaped leaves, but they curve quite a lot, and they're really, really hard. Like, there's no way that you can bend that or do anything. It also really, really needs dusting. And then here we have my terrarium. So this is the inside. There's a philodendron, ficus, some really cool terrarium plants. I'll give you a list of what they are on the screen, but absolutely, like, this ficus, which has started growing up the glass, is by far my favourite, and I'm pretty sure you can see why. It gets little white hairs. This whole terrarium is not my forte, but Aaron gave me some really beautiful plants and cuttings to put in here. So everything is just thriving, and it has a little cork top. So it just sits on there, and that's kind of about where it gets some sun from. These are southwest facing windows, just to give you an idea. So if I turn around, so it gets indirect southwest sun on this side. Okay, and then moving over here onto the shelf, nothing has changed here really. We've got this kind of row of succulents, well, plants that I don't water often, as you can see. But watch chain, peperomia hope, a sedum aurea, and a really weird string of dolphins, which I don't really know what's going on with that. And then above, we have a string of pearls, which I'm hoping will wake up now it's spring. I've kind of been not watering it, so you can see all the pearls are really shrunken. Another Mikado, a cactus with stuck-on flowers, which I can't seem to get off. And then up top, we have a ogre cactus, ogre succulent, whatever they're called, jade crassula, maybe? And next to that, there's a pickle plant, which really suffered over winter. Again, I think the same thing happened with my golden pothos, that the perlite all rose to the top, and so it hasn't really been sat in soil. Okay, just quickly before the school kids come out and I'm gonna have to take a break for 40 minutes or so, we have my variegated bear's paw, which is super dusty, which is probably why it hasn't grown that much, but I absolutely love this pot and it's happy enough. It's above the radiator, so it should be kind of drying out quite quickly, even though it's in a non-draining pot, and it gets quite a good draft from the window. And then we have my baby cactus, which hasn't grown masses since I got it, but I do water this a hell of a lot. I probably water this once a week actually, which for a cactus is pretty mental. So okay, so I've just shown you the baby cactus, the windows are here, so I'm going to show you this corner now, and I've got a couple of shelves above, but there's some really exciting kind of like little succulent stuff in this corner, and yeah, I think it's an unusual corner. Okay, so here we have a fly catching plant. It's carnivorous and it's got some oxalis and some grass growing in there. I normally keep this in about 1 centimetre of water, and it gets really beautiful flower spikes, but basically what happens is you see all those little hairs on the leaves. Those are sticky and catch all the little fungus gnats and things. As you can see, I've kind of won the battle, so there's no new fungus gnats on there. Behind I have a string of turtles propagation. Here I have a type of euphorbia which I've absolutely fallen in love with, and I'll give you some close-ups of this against the white background so you can really see. My dad calls it a Play-Doh plant because it looks like it's been rolled out of Play-Doh. You can kind of see just how flat it is, but yeah, this is a really, really cool plant. And then next to that we have a type of bromeliad from Aaron. I'll put the name on the screen, but it's stunning. I mean, I don't know if you can see the kind of silver spots or silver markings which create kind of silver spots. And then next to that we've got an epiphyllum, a silver dollar vine which is super dusty and needs wiping over. Then I think it's a type of ficus which hasn't woken up yet, and a Kalanchoe baharensis which has grown loads. That is absolutely massive, and again I'm going to say for all of you who don't have one of these, get one. They come out kind of bronze on the new leaves and then slowly fade to silver. They're velvety and just absolutely amazing, really easy care. So definitely get one. Then next to that I have another epiphyllum which is going a bit mental and growing from all different growth points. And then the one it's trying to focus on, which is trying to steal the show, is my Dayun Ejul, I think. I don't know how you spell it or how you say it. But that is just a tiny baby, and there is a new little stem coming out of that, which is really exciting. Right, here we have my Manihot Grahamii, and I was convinced that this would not wake up from dormancy this year. I had one in the pot, and I think if I remember rightly, I put another seed in there just kind of because I had another seed and just shoved it in, even though it hadn't germinated last year. So this woke up, and then another one woke up, and then last week another one woke up. So I don't know where the third one came from, and also it's getting far too large for this dome, so I need to work out where I'm gonna have it and how it's gonna survive, because I tried to transition it earlier in the year and it just hated it, just dropped all of its leaves. So I think it might be time to pull out the big guns and put it in a massive dome. Then here I have my potato. So my Stephania erecta, which is finally woken up. I succumbed to the fact that I had to put a plastic cup over it, which I also need to do for this one here. But yeah, it's finally woken up. It's super slow, and I'm hoping that once it grows enough, I can cut a hole in the top of the cup and it can grow out the top, and I can eventually remove the cup so that it doesn't look so ugly. And yeah, hopefully I'll have a really beautiful Cordex plant by this time next year, maybe. Might have gone dormant, we'll see. And then we have a Mirabilis, can't really remember what you call them. Hasn't done anything, so I think I'm gonna have to do the same and put a cup over it so that it gets a bit more humid. But yeah, that's a really chunky mix that I've got them in. If it'll focus, which apparently it won't. Orchid bark, perlite, tiny bit of soil, and some terracotta and charcoal, just so that it has no chance of rotting. And then some ones that I skipped over here. This I'm really hoping perks up a bit. It's been struggling throughout winter. It's a variegated watch chain, and it is a really beautiful pink. I'll put a picture up of what it looked like at the beginning of last summer. Then we have a, can't remember what it's called, I'll put the name on the screen. Really love these, really cool. And I have some little heart lithops, which actually look like they're ready to water. I've not watered these yet, the whole time I've had them. But you can see they're kind of wrinkling a bit. So if somebody could tell me in the comments below whether that is time to wrinkle, whether when it wrinkles it's time to water, that would be amazing. And then I have a little purple cactus here, which is absolutely tiny, and it's got all these really tiny little babies along with it. So that's really nice. And then I have this guy who had the most amazing kind of pink tips. It's not really being picked up on camera, but I absolutely love this. And I haven't watered it yet because I'm terrified of killing it, because for some reason they don't mind the humidity in the flat, and like I said, we're at 70% humidity, but they just hate being overwatered, obviously, but they dry out much quicker than they normally do if they're on the windowsill. And I think it's because they're kind of close to the radiator, and that's the radiator there, and they're kind of, yeah, you can kind of see. So they get a lot of ambient heat, but there's also draft because our windows aren't great. So, and I thought I'd just show you quickly our little window boxes, because the pansies have not stopped flowering. Got some chives in there and some evergreens. My brain plant, as my mum likes to call it. So, yeah. And then, just moving over here, we've got my vanilla orchid, which doesn't look great, but it's because all the vines keep falling down, so there are actually way more vines here than, you know, than it looks like. So there's like 3 different vines wrapped up at the bottom. And then there is another plant. I can't remember whether that was in here when I did my last tour. But they grow like mad and they attach really quickly, but then because the bamboo is so kind of slippery, it just falls down. I need to find a better way to clip these so that it does look more impressive, but the aerial roots on this are absolutely mental. It's probably about 12 foot in total if I was to unravel it, so I'm hoping that potentially one day I might get some vanilla pods, but I'm not holding my breath. And then next to it I have my coral bush, or my Jatropha multifilda. Again, no idea if I've said that right. This is absolutely incredible. I love this plant. Super easy care, just water it when it dries out. New growth all the time. I do chop the flowers off because they tend to stain the floor. So you get kind of like red splatter on both the wood, and if you've got carpets, it does stain. But you can see the amazing shape of these, and yeah, the shadows from this are incredible. And the real reason that I got this was because I thought that my manihot wouldn't wake up. So yeah, absolutely incredible, and very, very quick growers as well. Definitely recommend that one. Then up here we have a elephant foot cordex waking up again, which is exciting. It didn't really go dormant, to be honest. It kind of, the old vine died off and then it just woke up again. So, and then Burrow's tail up here, which started off in a dome and I kept like that for ages. But you can see all the little bits of new growth on the edges, which is exciting. And then my massive cactus, which is a Lophoceros. I don't really know what's going on here. I think that's actually our hard water from when I rinsed it because it looked really dusty. And just quickly before the siren comes, a very, very sad spiral cactus, which I repot yesterday. Excuse all this mess here, but I'm going to show you this corner now, which includes an update on my cabinet and my potting station and a couple of new plants which you guys won't have seen. And then I'll move on to the wires. Okay, so just starting off here, I've got my philodendron melanochrysum, which either needs to be chopped or moved somewhere else because it is now touching the top. I have my Aglaonema pictum tricolour, which is about to throw out a new leaf, which is really exciting. And I'll show you some close-ups of these so that you can actually see rather than just peering through the glass. At the back here, I have my Anthurium regale, Anthurium warwickii, Queen Anthurium, which is suffering a little bit because it is throwing out this amazing new leaf. And yeah, lots of aerial root growth, which is growing into the moss all behind here, which is really exciting. An Anthurium crystallinum, which put out a new leaf, lost the old one, and now it's putting out a new leaf again behind. You can kind of see the ridge on it. And that one looks like it's going as well. But I do have a fan up here, and it tends to be about 80–85% humidity in here. I've got the door open at the moment. And some of these are in pond, some of them are in soil, some of them are in sphagnum. It kind of just depends what has been about. And then here I have a philodendron camposportianum, which is in pond, which seems to be loving life and growing really well for me. At the back I have another carnivorous plant, a Bellmarks variegata, which is absolutely stunning. Love this plant to bits. There's actually a couple of different plants on there, but you can see how incredible the variegation is. A Cissus discolor, which does not want to wake up at all and has been like that probably since the last tour. And then here I have a Nangarantes, which you can see the cataphyll here, which looks ready to pop. And then here I just have a stem of my orchid cactus, cactus fern, which I'm seeing whether it will propagate in moss. So that is my cabinet. I'm going to shut the door so that the humidity doesn't dip too much. And then up here we have a new addition, which I know that you haven't seen, which is this philodendron varicosum, which is incredible. And if you look how hairy the stems are, it makes me extremely happy, this plant. And the leaves are absolutely massive. Here, this is, I think, old thrips poo. I treated it quite severely when it came for thrip damage, just because I wasn't 100% sure and I just haven't been asked to wipe it off yet. But there is lots of new growth, which is really exciting. When I got this, the new growth point actually rotted out, but that means that there's several new growth points. Actually, one on each node, which is really exciting. And then moving over, I don't know if you've been able to hear this kind of like splashy water. I've got a water propagator in here, which looks disgusting and the water needs changing. But I've got quite a few different things, and there's just an air pump in the bottom. So you can see kind of, well, you can't up here, that little blue thing. Pumps water into, pumps air into here, so it's like fully oxygenated water. And things tend to root really, really quickly in here, which is really exciting. And then we've got my absolutely massive Anthurium Adrianum, maybe? The leaves are absolutely huge. I mean, look at that. By far the biggest plant that I've got. Super easy care, brand new leaf come out, and flowers regularly, which is really cool. And here we've got a Monstera, can't remember, which was in pon and came from knots and leaves, and probably stopped about there. So had about 5 leaves on it, and then since I've had it since about June last year, it's kicked off. It's on a self-watering moss pole, but again, it hasn't really increased in size a whole lot. That's probably the biggest leaf that there is compared to one that it came with. I don't think it's great masses, but we'll see. I might do a chop and prop of that as well if anybody wants to buy some of that. And then a very sad Pelia, Peperomoides, which has always been sad, just doesn't really like me, don't really know what it's done. And then back here, this actually looks quite sad, but it's the best that it's looked for a long time. So this is a Licoala grandis, which I converted into pon. There's like 5 different plants in there, and a couple of them died, but the 2 biggest ones kind of took to it really, really well. Again, I water into this pot, or into the saucer, and it sucks water so fast. I probably have to top that up every 3 days. So that's been in pon for about 4 months now, and I don't think it's deteriorating anymore. I need to pluck out the dead plants in there, but yeah, potentially something to look at if you are struggling with your Licoala grandis. And then here we have my Rhaphidophora Corthalsii. Again, we have really, really hard water, so you can see all of these kind of calcium deposits on the leaves. But there is plenty of new growth, and yeah, like I said, it has started to attach itself. And the new growth isn't damaged yet from our hard water, so I'm hoping that potentially I might be able to save it from all of that ugly hard water marks and hard water damage. So this is a Hepatia numerifolia, which isn't looking too great, to be honest. I've chopped 1 or 2 dead stems off, but I think it is turning the corner, but I don't think it's gone yet. There's still a lot of new growth on that, and it does seem to push out. I do remember this happened last year actually, and after I did my tour last year, it kind of dropped and then came back really full and then kind of dropped again. So I do wonder whether it's kind of cycle with these. Then we have a Silveran with a dead leaf on it, which needs watering, which I'll get to after this video. And then my 2 begonias, which I'm kind of done with. Yeah. The one on the left is a begonia, well, I'll put the names on the screen. Both spotty begonias, both cane begonias. Okay, so that was actually a really long segment of video, so I'm going to split this into 2. You'll see the wires in the next section, and I'll go through about how they're actually hung and what plants are up there. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. I will link the video when it is done below in the description, so you can literally just click onto it. And I'll see you next time.